All right, I guess I'll get started. Thank you so much for the invite. I'm excited. I was here last year too. I'm familiar to those who were here last year. And a bit more clear. But my name's Emily Atwell. Don't worry about the doctor. I want this to just be a free for all, so that you can interrupt me, you can disagree with me, we'll just dialogue back and forth as we go, okay? And totally fair. Who's perfect in here? Any perfect human being? I always get one person raising your hand.
Yeah, it's perfect. She's right though.
So I'm just giving everybody permission, including myself, he is perfect here. Okay? Just like put it all out there, totally fair. We're all human, okay? And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. How to be human, how to be perfectly imperfect. I love that. Yeah, that's great. All right. This is super nice. Oh, here we go.
Okay, good. Yeah, point it that way.
So Jen Tovac is my best friend. And that's part of your connection here. It's also my real estate agent, helping me purchase the house, however many, it was almost 4 years ago. Crazy. Wow. Yeah. And when we met in the mental health space originally, so we were both therapists. When she said she's going into real estate, at first I was like, okay, that's a big pivot. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, actually, we couldn't do the same thing, right? If I thought about it. So I want to just put that out there for a second. So I do this exercise with my clients a lot. I'm a clinical social worker and a family therapist, so I just work with relationships of all kinds, people of all kinds, things like that. But one of the exercises I do at the beginning is have the family, the person, the couple, whomever we're talking about, draw a picture of a house. Okay? And I want them to draw what they show on their first floor. Like the living room, the kitchen. What would somebody who's a stranger walking in know about them when they're up on a level? Okay? Seeing what they say there. And they say, all right, who is allowed upstairs? Who's allowed upstairs? Any thoughts?
Family.
Yeah. Okay. So why is family allowed upstairs when the random person next door might not?
So side is.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
Since our back.
Okay. Great. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Who's allowed in the basement? Maintenance people. Okay. If you have a problem with plumbing or whatever. Yeah. Okay. So what I do and what you do is we are involved in it all. We're involved in the good, the bad, and the ugly of everyone's life. If you're a real estate agent, I assume some of you might not be here, but we're all connected. You're all connected to that space. That makes sense. So we're in everybody's stories. We're in everybody's imagination of what a house could look like or what a home could look like. What's the difference between a house and a home?
Memories you make.
What did you say again?
The memories you make.
Memories you make. Okay. Which one do you make memories in?
Home. Home.
House just a structure. House is physical structure.
Like the materials used to build a structure, and a home is everything. It's the people.
So the home is the exterior, right? I mean, so the house is the exterior, right? It might be beautiful on the outside, fantastic. It might be a disaster in the home. Absolutely. That's what I do every day. All sorts of things. Okay? So I wanted to just provide this image to demonstrate that, you know, as much as our trainings are different and, you know, our lives are different, we might have that intersection in the work that we do with individuals on a daily basis. Okay. So when everybody said, I tell people I'm a therapist, I get usually 1 or 2 responses. I get people dishing every little intimate detail about their life, asking me for advice. Or I get, okay, I'm avoiding you like the plague, right? Like, you just get out of my way, right? So many people hear the word relationship, or hear the word intimacy, or hear the word connection, and they're like, ooh, this is really scary. I'm like, this is what I did here, right? That's what you all have to do together. You have to develop relationships. You have to know the ins and outs of people's lives. You have to know their finances. Jen knows more about my finances than I do, right? Like, you have to, right? And that's very vulnerable, okay? So having a transactional relationship is not just about the paperwork. It's not just about the crunching numbers, things like that. It goes beyond that. What are your thoughts about this? Okay.
Well, it's why I'm a coach and not an agent anymore.
Okay.
Because I don't do that good with that, relationship, customer service.
Yeah.
My bandwidth for trying to be fuzzy and warm and fun feel good when the math is
Yeah.
difficult, and I feel lucky I learned that early on, so I wasn't trying to force a square into a circle hole, but I'm that person that's like, relationship, like, do you wanna buy a house or not? Where are you trying to live?
Yeah.
Like, how much money do you have?
Yeah.
Does this house fit in your budget? Great, what's the problem? You know, so that's not, that's a good mindset for coaching, when you just wanna stick to the plan or facts.
So as an agent though, right, you could do exactly, you have this person like me, but who's the customer, and I called Jen up the night before we're listening. I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I'm freaking out. I'm like, I'm about to give a fuck ton of money. Right now. And I don't even know if I have the, like, I was like, what do I do? I'm freaking out. Right, so as the agent, what do you do with this stuff?
You ask good questions.
Ask good questions, be curious,
Yes.
understand what's going on for me, and right, where is it coming from? I never bought a house before. I don't know. This is my first time. What do I do? Right? You have to be kind of the calm, stable presence in that moment, and that's what we do as therapists too. Right? Somebody comes in with all sorts of problems, and I'm just like, okay, let's just slow it down, understand what's happening. You know, put it out on the table. That can be very hard, and that can be very exhausting for the person on either end, really. Okay. You might also ask, what role would you like me to play in this moment? As Jen did. Do you want me to be your best friend in this moment? Do you want me to be your real estate agent, or do you want me to tell you you're being crazy? What do you want in this moment? Right? I didn't know what I wanted. Right? So, you know, that was part of it. But what do you do in that situation? What if someone doesn't know what they need? They're having a freak out moment.
You get really on experience.
Lean on experience. Okay. Meaning your own experience?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
a lot of the people in this room have done this multiple times for multiple types of people.
Yeah.
And I think that we just have to kind of look through those existing memories.
Exactly.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
what can I apply here?
Good.
What
So
was
you're
familiar
using-
can I stick?
What I like to call that is you're using your own material. We all have material, meaning we all have stories, we all have strengths and weaknesses, we all come from somewhere, and you utilize that, you place yourself in the moment. In therapy world, it's called therapist use of self. We place ourselves in the therapy. I don't know what it's called in real theater. Your world. Any thoughts? Is there a term for it? Yeah. Okay. Just wondering. All right. So I'm going to be talking about 7 different things today. They might feel like, ooh, this is too getting in the nitty gritty. I promise you it's relevant. I also promise you it's uncomfortable. So I just want to put that out there. Okay? All right, being human. Very obvious one, right? We're all human beings. What is a human being?
A conscious,
Bag of water.
Say that again?
Conscious bag of water.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
Say messy.
yeah.
Messy. Okay. So having strengths and weaknesses.
yeah,
Somebody who, again, is layered, is dynamic, right? Opinionated, has thoughts and feelings, right? That's important to remember when you're crunching the numbers, when you're in the paperwork. Are you actually like understanding who the human is that's signing that? And who you are as the human being providing the information, right? What's going on? That's the relationship, okay? We see the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm sure. Any examples of that? You see, you know, maybe a couple is buying a house and they're screaming at each other. They can't decide on what color wall to have the right? It's great. Maybe they're getting a divorce and they're having to try to figure out how to, you know, sell it. Maybe I mean, I can't, help me out here. Any thoughts? Any other thoughts?
Family never died.
Family member died. In-laws moved in, whoa, like that's the big one. Mother-in-law's moving in. That's like gonna, which potentially cause issue.
Emotional sellers, because they have to
Emotional
sell
sellers.
for some reason.
Yeah.
They don't have control
Yeah.
over, but they're
They're pissed,
mental,
they're pissed that they're losing money. Yep.
or that too, or just a house. Like
Yeah.
there's so much emotional attachment to like
Yeah.
things.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Never
I had a client one time, who was married and was buying a bachelor pad, so that was interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear about that too.
Yeah.
Or people who have completely separate families.
Yeah.
I'll do you one better. I got a couple who's they were looking for a rental. And I got them in the rental, found out later that the husband wanted that specific rental for him and his wife and their 4-year-old because it's around the corner from his girlfriend.
Yeah, so this is the problem, right? It's not our job to judge.
I thought you were gonna say men.
It's also impossible not. What being a human being is means that we're all judging. We all have judgment. You're judging me, I'm judging you.
But it's not wrong, as long as you're not pushing your judgment on us.
And it matters what you do with the judgment. I can have a judgment about one of you. It could be right or wrong. What does that mean? What kind of energy is that creating in that moment, right? What kind of space is that taking up in the relationship? Does that make sense? Right? So, another part of being a human being is judging. And being judged. And sitting with that can be really hard. Okay, so, this is a fancy word, the fancy term called integrated self, which basically means that we all have icebergs. We all have aspects of ourselves that we show to the world, right? Like for most of us, it's about a third of who we actually are. What are you willing to show on social media? What are you willing to dress at? But, how are you willing to dress? How are you willing to present yourself? Is that actually who you are? Right? Or are you really layered? Do you have depth to you? Do you go down deep in vulnerability, things like that? Can you hold on to all of that in the moment? Okay? So I sat in my closet this morning figuring out what I'm going to wear because this is not comfortable for me. Being in like yoga pants and a t-shirt is comfortable. What would that have said? What would that have said? Like, what message would that have sent if I had shown up like that? Maybe you wouldn't have cared. Maybe even like, whatever. But maybe it would have been like, that's really unprofessional. What do you think?
She's really zen.
Right.
I think you'd be like when I was like Dr. Nixon about emotional health, if you would have showed up in yoga gear, I'd been like, I found my net.
That would be a way of me actually like showing up as an integrated person. That makes sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Meaning accepting the good, the bad, and the ugly. I don't look perfect. Who cares? This is me. Right? I particularly, when I'm doing public speaking or when I'm teaching, I purposefully have something wrong with my appearance because it makes me more confident. I want you to try that at some point. Purposefully wear 2 different color socks or have a stain on your shirt or something like that. It can be incredibly liberating to be like, hey, I'm a human being, join the club like we all are at some point. Does that make sense? Okay. Thoughts about that? Would anyone ever do that? Would anyone be like embracing that or running away from that?
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Wearing 2 different socks is just fine.
Dude, I wear 2 different socks and boots all the time. I love them. Yeah. So here's the thing, is that an integrated self is something that is a lifelong process that we all work on our entire lives. Because when someone triggers you, when someone pushes that button that you don't want pushed, that can really, really activate people, right? And so you want to think about what is a weakness that you've integrated, meaning what is the weakness that you might feel insecure about, but now you appreciate that about yourselves. Anyone think of what that might be?
Yeah, I struggled with cutting people off I always like let people back in. I was like, oh, whatever. But now I've like learned there's red lines, and
Yeah.
once you cross that,
Yeah.
best of luck.
I love that. Great. So that's part of your story. That's part of your narrative, right? And how is that going to show up for you in your role?
Well, number one with my customers, I try to articulate things multiple times and go back and make sure that they were on the same page.
Yep.
So I really value open communication.
Good. Yes.
Growing up, I have a lot of commitment to things. I think, you know, and that could be associated, or a lot of people see that as sort of like aggressive, right? I was very, you know, compassionate about just everything that was going on. It meant something to me, but now, like around other adults who are similar, it's coming off as passion and not so much like crazy aggression and obsession. So that's beneficial.
Great. So I 100% have an anxiety disorder. Just that anxiety has plagued me my entire life. Absolutely. I was a mess in my adolescence. And now I actually appreciate it. Like, it has gotten me this far. It has gotten me through some pretty tough times. And the reason why it's gotten me through this is because it's pretty damn motivating. You think about it, right? I mean, what is anxiety? It's essentially the speedometer in a car telling you how fast or slow to go at a given moment, right? It guides you with that, right? So it's guided you to go faster, it guides you to go slower at certain points in my life. That's an example of how you integrate me. Okay, make sense? Okay, cool. So, oops. Okay, so here we go. We all have attributions, aka judgments. That you can use the word interchangeably. Attributions can be right, they absolutely can be wrong. Okay? So there's humility in saying, if somebody insults you and it's absolutely accurate, in saying, you're totally right. Like, I am really lazy sometimes. I am really absent-minded. I can be really judgmental. I can be really critical. Sitting with them. You're a human being, right? And thoughts? Think about the last time someone insulted you. What happened in that moment, relationally? What happened? Did you get defensive? Did you say, no, I'm not that way. What are you talking about? And then give you 5 reasons why you're not that way.
I try to refocus them.
Redirect.
Yeah, redirect. them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
Take it personally. Yeah, absolutely. Right? So oftentimes the way we take something is how we view the world. Right? So the lens through which we view the world, that's a personalization. Okay? So basically, I had a college professor, I still remember this. I came back for a reunion and she goes, wow, Emily, you really got your shit together. She said this to me. Now, to be honest with you, I didn't understand that statement, right? I was never a terrible student. I never did anything wrong. But in her mind, and this is just a tangent, I'm sorry, but in her mind, because I was not doing quantitative research, I was doing qualitative for my thesis, there was something wrong. I wanted to see like relationships and how people are interacting with an experience rather than the numbers behind it, right? So I became this like person who's like not going to announce anything, right? So how did I take that in the moment? This person was my thesis advisor. Like I had to spend a ton of hours with this woman.
Well, if you have a little bit of anxiety, you probably took it to heart.
Oh,
like very personally. You probably,
I was a mess for like 3 days.
Oh,
I was
just like
I was a mess for 3 days, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, was I like awful? Like, did she have a different image of my experience in college than I did? Right? What's going on?
How did you respond in that moment though?
So she didn't actually say it to me, which is the interesting part. Thank you for bringing that up. She said it to one of my friends who was in college. Right? So my friend who's in college with me, she was like, I don't understand what you're talking about. Like she kind of stood up for me, which was wonderful. Anyway, so that statement though has guided me a pretty far a long way. I'm like, okay, what does it mean to have your shit together? Does anyone ever have their shit together? No. Definitely not. Absolutely. Definitely not. Right? So I just needed to figure out how to have my shit together enough that, you know, my life was okay. Not great necessarily, but just I'm doing okay. And that was fine for me. Again, that's having an integrated school. Okay? Holding space for both and. Okay, who is the person who can be very confident and very insecure and the same person at the same time? Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's give let's give a couple more examples. I can be very social and very antisocial at the same time. Absolutely. Depending on who's in the room. Okay, I can be super quiet and super loud, depending on who's in the room. You can be both. That's okay. Like you don't have to be either or. That's what a lot of difficult moments in relationships happen because you're expecting someone to be one way. Yeah. When really they'd be experiencing a lot of things at the same time. Right? Okay. That most of the time comes from family of origin, for better or worse. The messaging that you all grew up with from your families around who you're going to be, what you can do, what you're going to accomplish. Now, the reason why that statement got me the most is because I have felt like the dud in my family for my entire life. My brothers are like beyond successful in their own fields, and I have literally felt like the dud. So that is one of the reasons why that's got me so much. Okay, that makes sense?
I was going to ask.
Yeah.
I'm glad you touched on that. So like in your situation, like you said, family of origin. So like the way you respond, would you believe that's the inner child?
Sure. Yeah, that's another way of putting it. Sure.
Yell
Yeah,
back and
absolutely. My inner child in that moment was to be like 5 inches tall and just hide in the corner and cry. That's what I did. And I'm like, I was probably 30.
I had to unlearn a lot of things from childhood.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Okay. All right, so let's think about this. I want you to describe yourself without talking about any roles you play, any achievements you've made, a status, or any possessions you have. Thoughts? Anyone give it a try?
I tried this before and it was hard. Like describe something personally.
Curious.
Okay, great. I love that. So that makes me, if we're in an interaction together, that makes me curious about you. I don't really care where you went to college. I don't care how much you make. I don't care what car you drive. But I care that you're curious. That means you're dynamic as a human being. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, why in a job interview do people shove a piece of paper in front of you and say, okay, this is who I am? My GPA, my college, my previous jobs. Why does that indicate who a person is?
We have a discussion to dig into the history and patriarchal.
Right, exactly. There's that. Yes. Insecure. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay.
But sometimes the position is based on your experience.
Based on your experience. Okay. Fantastic. So I've been in the field 15 years. Does that make me a good therapist? Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Right. Sure. Fantastic. Okay, but to some people I might be terrible. I might be a terrible fit for them. Right? I might be the best fit at the same time, right? So again, it's all relative. Right? All right. Systemic thinking. This is a big one, right? Because we all do it and don't do it at the same time. Meaning, just to get here today, you had to think systemically. You had to think about someone other than yourself. Even if you live alone, maybe you're single, whatever, you had to still think about somebody else. Let's give an example.
Kids.
Schedule. Okay.
If I have bike parking.
How am I going to find person driving? Okay. Yep. So how can that impact us? How can it's exhausting. Yep.
I feel like if I do not stay a couple steps ahead of people on routines, and business part, you must feel like you need to be, I think omniscient is the word. And stay ahead, then, I cannot keep up. Like, if I don't stay ahead, then I can't even keep up.
Yep.
Because if I just wake up and try to wing it for the day, it probably would negatively affect me for days
Absolutely.
after that,
Yep.
because it's just me and there's literally 103 other people out there.
So try adding anxiety to that.
Yeah, no.
No.
Right? Having anxiety about everything that you worry about everyone else around at all times. Are they cold? Are they hungry? Can I see what's happening? What's happening? This person just moved. What does that mean? I mean, that's what it means. That talk about stressful.
That's the anxiety time, and
That's talk about stressful.
Do I feel for that?
I have a client who literally every time I take a drink of water, he's like, "Did I say something wrong? What's going on?" Like, I'm literally just taking a drink of water. Does that make sense? Yeah. Right? Okay. So, again, that's what I mean by systemic thinking is very important and can be a very big thorn in your side at certain times. Okay? Let's apply that to your lives, your work, career. How is this relevant?
Could affect the relationships.
Affect relationships.
Be thinking like you're dealing with a client or someone, they respond a certain way or don't respond in a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
It can make you think about where your success is.
Yeah. So let's just play out this scenario. I'm married to a man, and we walk in for a new real estate agent that I'm not before, and I am the person right in front. So it's obvious to shake my hand first. What actually happens in that? Unfortunately, shakes my hand. Shakes the hand. Immediately, I'm like, no, I do not want to work with that. Immediately, just because of a handshake. Immediately. Thoughts about that?
Valid. We actually get a lot of women that hugs, so they defend it and shake hands.
Yeah. Okay, so what if you're a child in that moment? So what if I'm walking in with my husband and we have a child with us? And the real estate person does not acknowledge my child.
Super.
What do you do then? Right? First of all, it's impossible not, so not that you're children. Right. It's besides the point, but what do you do then? What does that tell you about that person? Right? They might not like children. Fair enough. Right? Maybe they don't want to be a parent. Totally fair. Right? But like not acknowledging another human being.
Yeah, it's weird.
You know.
Especially not a child, like we have to think about other people's lives, even when we don't live those lives.
Absolutely.
So thinking about school districts, we're thinking about, bedrooms and,
Right.
is this staircase wobbly? Would it be safe enough to ride?
Absolutely. You have to be thinking about that. You have to be entering into the lives of whoever is buying or whatever is happening and say, okay, can I place myself? Can I be thinking about every angle of the situation? Are the stairs, do they need to be fixed? Is the basement like really disgusting? Like what's going on? The house is about to fall apart. Like,
Both of those examples too kind of demonstrate, right, wrong, or otherwise, to the person on the receiving end of that the real estate agent is viewing the interaction very transactionally.
Right.
Like it's perceived like, okay, in the misogyny instance, it's perceived that, oh, the man is the decision maker. That's the person I need to show my deference to.
Yep.
In the parent-child instance, it's, okay, these are the people with money and resources and decision-making power. I don't need to interact with anyone who doesn't have that.
So it's with that example too, and I've seen this where I've seen not necessarily an agent, but people tend to overthink situations, and the reason why they shake the man's hand first is not necessarily because that's their own belief, but they think that they would be insulted. The man would be insulted if he didn't shake his hand first. So, so overthinking can be that doesn't make you necessarily misogynist, but if you overthink it, you're making a mistake.
You're putting the anxiety in the room right
Exactly.
there. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. This happens all the time. I mean, Take whatever you do with your daily life. That happens all the time. All right. We're not going to get through everything. I'm sorry, unless you want me to stay longer, which I'm happy to do. Anyways, process out loud. So, if I started speaking to you like this,
I love that.
right? If I started speaking to you like this, what happens? Am I saying anything offensive in my content? No. But what's going on?
There's a different energy.
Every single one of you looks me in the eye, first of all.
Yeah, we're like.
Every single one of you looks me in the eye. Because you were not expecting mine.
Right.
Right.
So you have the power in the moment.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't want to know, first of all. But second of all, why did that impact our relationship just like it?
It was unexpected. It was loud. Yeah.
So that's what in therapy world, what we call process versus concept. It is what is happening in the interaction versus what's being said. Have you ever had a moment where you're in a fight with a partner? This is funny. You're in a fight and you say something like, "Can't you just see that I love you?" Not really. No, not in that moment. I can't. Why does that happen? What's the incongruence there?
I mean, your words don't match
My words don't
your
matter.
actions.
Right, absolutely. Okay. Let's apply this to your love. To your roles. I love these, but you
But like,
See it trying to help you.
The authenticity.
yeah, not over promising and under delivering.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just like when I talk to new agents especially, I tell them to practice their scripts with the person in the world who knows them the best and will call them out on their shit. Because there's a lot of scripting in real estate and there's a tendency to get robotic with it. And people pick up on that. And people pick up on disingenuous, like if you have a very practiced, meticulous tone, and like I had like a visceral reaction when you started doing the like highfalutin professor voice, because like that's to me, like that is the professor who comes in the room, thinks that they're the big shit, and they're just, I know my material so well, it doesn't matter who else is in the room,
Good.
I'm talking at and above you.
Good.
And when you come across as like, it doesn't matter who's sitting across from me, this is my sales pitch, it comes across as a sales pitch and not a relationship.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. Absolutely. It also doesn't matter who I'm talking to. I could be talking to the wall and say it like that, and that would have the same level of meaning. If you're actually talking in a way that is in relationship, you're talking based on what the feedback is the other person is giving. That make sense? Okay. So, process out loud is huge, really, in any relationship that you might have. Example that we're already talking about is body language. So I'm standing up here like this. Look at that in me.
You don't care.
You don't care.
Okay, so you're making that judgment. In reality, that was bold. Yeah, right? That's the reality. I'm not. Does that make sense? The reality is something's happening for me that is totally harmless, totally not insulting anybody else. Except that the way that I'm saying it, you're interpreting, and again, the lens through which you view the world is through interpretation or attribution. Okay? So if you don't know me, and you don't know that I'm chronically cold all the time, right? You could take that as, well, she thinks she's holier than I, right? Absolutely. Okay, go to boys. We've already gone over. What are some others?
I would say silence. I just had a situation in a negotiation where I was on the verge of getting this deal done, and the person that I was representing just went silent on me. And I didn't know, like, I tried everything, calls, texts, emails. And so you're kind of like,
Yeah. So silence is a big one, right?
yeah,
Because it can communicate a lot.
yeah, absolutely.
So one thing, there's a couple of ways to handle that in my world. But one way is to just let the silence happen. Very uncomfortable. And people have different degrees of, ability to do that. The other one is help me understand the signs. What's happening? What are you noticing in this moment? How is this affecting our relationship? Like that would be a skilled way of, dealing with it. Most people just start talking. Just continuing the conversation because it's awkward. Totally fair, totally human. I've done that time. Yeah.
I was doing showing yesterday, and I have a husband and wife, and he's like very animated, and he came to the show and he was so quiet. I was like, what's happening? And then walking through the house and no animation. And then he had ordered pizza right down the street, and the pizza wasn't ready before the showing, and I think he was hungry and preoccupied with getting the pizza that he wasn't like, and I was like, did I do something? Like, because we automatically go,
Yes.
what did I do wrong?
Yes. Yes.
Right? Instead of what is happening for them.
Right.
So,
Right. So again, if you're activated by the anxiety or whatever's going on for you, you're going to interpret that as, oh my gosh, like this guy hates me. I can't stand it. Like, what did I do wrong? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. When really he's just hungry.
So could you just always think that opposite way to see, perhaps it's something going on with them? I mean, what are the chances? Is it like 90% probably the person themselves versus what you're doing?
It takes an incredibly strong and courageous person to always view it the positive, so-called positive way. It's very hard to do. Right? What I would suggest is take a step back in those moments and think about the 5 or 6 possible reasons. Right? Usually there's more than 2.
Definitely.
Right? And then you make a choice of how you want to interpret it in that situation based on the relationship you have. That makes sense? Right? So if I'm gonna go ahead. Sorry.
What if it's a pattern? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then sometimes the person doesn't even realize it, but you do.
It depends, in that situation, it depends on your level of investment in the relationship with that person. If you're never going to see this person again, it might not be worth it, right? If this person's going to be at Thanksgiving dinner, it might be worth it, right? So it depends on, your level of investment. Okay? Yeah. All right, we've already kind of gone through this. But what it does when you identify the process, when you identify tone of voice, body language, any shift in energy, it creates intimacy in a relationship. Intimacy is a fancy word. It's like everybody thinks differently about it. All it means is closeness. We're not talking about sex, literally closeness, connection. Okay? It increases the connection in that moment. Okay. So let's just play this out for a second. If I'm combining systemic thinking with process-oriented thinking, and I start screaming at you, a linear way of responding, meaning A causes B, cause and effect. I scream at you, which causes what?
You scream back.
You scream back. Very linear interaction. Okay. If you're thinking systemically, and I start screaming at you, how's that look? It's on here, so you can read it, so no worries. But so you're noticing what's happening for me. You're noticing that I'm screaming at you. That's the process-oriented way of you're calling out the process. Okay? You're noticing what's happening to yourself. Emily, I noticed that you're getting angry, and I also noticed that I'm withdrawing. And we talk about that, and we understand that in the moment. That would be a way of masterfully handling that moment. Does that ever happen? No.
Yeah.
Most of the time. It would be very rare for that to happen. Okay? So you want to, again, be curious rather than critical. Curious rather than contentious in those moments, which again, as human beings, is very, very hard. Thoughts?
Somebody just need off the merry-go-round.
Absolutely. You got to break the process. Break the cycle. Absolutely. Yeah. Good. All right. Who can I insult? Anybody? Give you All right, Bill's in front of me. I'm gonna just do. I can't stand you. I just can't stand you. What would be a reactive way of responding? No, that's not. What would be a reactive way?
I can't stand you.
I can't stand you.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely.
Bill was okay back for that.
Very aggressive.
Yes.
Back and forth and back and forth. We are not having any intimacy in that moment. We're having a lot of distance. Does that make sense? Okay. A response is one that is not only from emotion, it's from thought also. Meaning, when we're reacting, we're only, giving feedback based on emotion. We are getting pissed, so we're gonna respond the same way. All right, so I can't stand you. That's reactive. A response, it's okay. Response would be giving the same language that I gave, saying something like, "Well, what can't you stand about me? What about me can't you stand?" Because then it puts me in the situation of, oh shit, I actually have to explain myself. What do I do now? Right? So now I'm in this situation of I have to give a reason why. Right? So I might give, whatever reason. And then the dialogue continues. That makes sense. Then the dialogue continues. It increases the intimacy or the connection in the moment. Doesn't mean that we're gonna like each other at the end, but at least we'll understand. Make sense? Yeah.
Does it matter who's your relation? So I'm gonna just come out with it. I've had a relationship in the past with a female where I recognized what was happening and I phrased it like that, and it did not go well. Her sister did the exact same thing, and it was accepted as good feedback. So
So that comes back to the lens in which someone views.
Can I answer that for you? Good insight on this because I'm the girlfriend usually, right? And I've had relationships with men, and what I try to explain to him is we both are New Yorkers, and we can have dialogue in a certain way, and he knows I can have dialogue in a certain way, and there's no negative feelings, nobody's feelings are hurt, and this or that. He's heard me with family members, my friends, whatever. He's not allowed to talk to me that way. And he's like, how come you get mad when I talk to you this way, but not everyone else? And I gave him kind of a vulgar response, which I won't repeat here. But the idea is that I have an intimate relationship with you. And he also desires for me to speak to him a little bit differently. He wants me to be a little more soft. He wants this or that. You can't talk crazy and want a soft response. We're either both talking like workers all day, but we're both being a little nicer because we have a different dynamic and relationship. So if you want to talk to me like your friend, then we're gonna rap dirty all day like we're friends. But if you want me to talk to you like I am a lady and talk more like a lady, then you also have to put me in that soft space. So it's a different dynamic, which is why the boyfriends don't allow me to do things like everybody else.
The difference there is that with the person that you're dating or in a relationship with, hopefully you go down deep in the iceberg. Hopefully. If you go down deep in the iceberg, it means that you know what buttons to push. You know what's gonna piss them off, right? If you're only in a casual or acquaintance type of relationship, you're above the surface. Does that make sense?
yes, but I don't know. I can't speak for all guys. It's hard to know the rate of consent. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Ideally, what you'd want to
like that term.
Ideally, what you'd want to do is grab the person's hand and dive down together.
Right.
That's what you'd want to do. That's the ideal.
Right.
Doesn't happen that way all the time. Sometimes you're pulling someone down.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're down and you're like, oh crap, I need to rescue you, right? Could be all sorts of things. All right. Sorry for my edit boards vacuum. What's going on here? I'm terrible.
You're too far ahead.
Okay. So, we exist in homeostasis. You like saying this, that's for human beings. You like familiar, whether it's good for us or not. It's just the way it is. It's comfortable, it's safer, it's less vulnerable. Okay? So oftentimes in relationships, we gravitate towards somebody who's going to be in our same homeostasis. Maybe you grew up And the way you showed love is by screaming at each other. So you're gonna end up in a relationship with someone who the way you engage with them is to scream. It's just the way it is, right? That's homeostasis. Whether or not that's good for you, that's on you. Like we could talk about that in therapy, right? Whatever. But that is a homeostatic experience. Does that make sense? Most of the time in relationships, we stay there. Okay? When you're doing what's called an intimacy dance, you're going out of your comfort zone. Okay, you're going out of you're staying in your comfort zone if you're doing this. Meaning, if I am in a relationship and I'm just a degree of distance between, person A and person B. Person B may show vulnerability and be like, I really love you, all the things. If I am comfortable with that degree of intimacy, then this becomes our new homeostasis. Okay, if I'm not comfortable, I'm gonna go the fuck away.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be back here. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so that's called doing a dance. We're doing a square dance. Okay, then all of a sudden this person's like, no, I really love you, this is great, like let's run off in the sunset. And I'm like, well no, I don't wanna do this now. So then we're back here again. That's typically what relationships Yes. This is what everyone is doing
Yes.
in a relationship. Okay? So basically what's happening. We should put that to a song or something. Okay. Anyway, that is an intimacy dance. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, again, apply that to your roles. How might that show up?
Oh, because we wanted to pray up and get pre-approved by the house now. They want to see for sure.
Okay.
I sometimes think when I bring myself, like when you kind of go a little bit deeper into the kinds where maybe I share something and like, oh, and then I'll think about it all night. Like, did I say too much about myself, or did I show a part of myself that's like uncomfortable to show? Yeah,
Talk
and
about
worry
it.
about it.
Right. Boundaries.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry. She wants to be here and spell me out there at the same time.
This is a good example of it's not you, so
So-
no.
I'm gonna use that 8 minutes. I'm glad about that. Anyway, okay. When I was buying my house, Jen, knowing my husband, I'm gonna tell this story. So my husband goes, but Jen's your best friend. Like, this could like ruin your friendship. Like she's gonna know everything about us. She's gonna know all about our finances. You really want Jen to be the one? And I'm like, yes, I do not have any worries. Like there's no part of me that thinks that the relationship would be negatively affected. My husband was like, oh my god, I don't know, I can't do this, right? And eventually it was all fine. But our homeostasis was to have a level of boundary around what people know about us. Does that make sense? Right? And we had to go out of that comfort zone in order to allow Jen in. Make sense? That is what you're doing in your relationships in your all the time. Thoughts?
Yeah, I do commercials, so I deal with a lot of like alpha type personalities, and that is like the toughest part. Is like trying to figure out how the pecking order, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very hard. Okay, so think about whatever your homeostasis is. Everybody has it. We all do it. Think about whether that's good for you or okay. All right, so a little bit of technical language here, but there's another idea called reflect without reference, which basically means that if you're in an interaction that's negative with somebody, can you reflect on it without blaming the other person? Okay, let me just give you a stupid example. This morning, woke up at 5. My son had peed the bed. It changed everything. My daughter's freaking out about like having breakfast. I'm dealing with it all. My husband's asleep. He wakes up and takes a shower. All fine, whatever. Gets himself dressed. I am still not dressed. Okay, I still am, all sorts of chaos, right? The dog's barking. The dog has to pee. All the things happening. So I'm doing all of this, getting their lunches ready. I use the water filter to pour the water so the water into their thing. Okay, totally fine. That's basically every morning. He calls me on the way here. He goes, "Is peach."
Oh.
Fantastic. He said it exactly like this. It would be super helpful to me if you could refill the water filter after you empty the water. Okay. What did I do? What did I think about it?
You gotta be kidding me.
Right.
The fuck all the way off. What's over? Not ours.
10 seconds I was there. I was like, are you fucking serious? And I literally have done everything. All you have to do is get yourself fucking showered. Like, that's all you have to do, right? That's all, you have to just take care of yourself, right? I'm taking care of everything else. Okay, let's back up. If I'm reflecting on that without reference, and I'm being a human being, and I'm being a kind partner, what would I do?
I hear you.
I hear you, okay? So, in reality, the 5 minutes it takes for the stupid water filter to fill means a half hour added to his commute in the morning. Does that make sense? Right? So I took a step back and I'm like, okay, he sat there for 5 minutes waiting for the stupid thing to fill.
That he could have filled before he got in the shower.
So I'm with you, sis.
Does that make sense? Right? So it added a half hour to the thing. So from his perspective, huge inconvenience. The next thing he says, though, will make you feel differently. He goes, I also recognize as I'm talking that you did everything.
Oh, he saved it.
Because he's very good at single. He's very good at pissing me off and then being like, okay, no, never mind. Right? But does that make sense? The next statement was, I also recognize that you did everything this morning.
Why didn't he leave with that state?
Exactly. You would think, right? After being a 13 years, anyway. So if I had gone immediately to fuck you, I did everything this morning. Are you kidding me? Like, I can't stand this. You know, what would have happened to our dynamic?
No.
It would have immediately gone south. Or it would have ruined my day. I would have come here being pissed at everybody else. Absolutely. Okay. So instead, sitting and reflecting without reference allowed us to have this dialogue that really turned it around. Thoughts about this?
Takes practice.
Oh, absolutely.
Goals.
And I do not do it well.
Definitely goals.
I try it. It's hard.
It's very,
I usually end up just yelling.
it's very hard.
And then crying. So.
I'm not
Okay.
baby.
All because of this stupid water filter. The water filter had a ton of power over our relationship this morning.
What was the time distance between the first statement and the second?
Probably 27.
That's a long time.
I'm on 76.
Excuse me.
I'm like in traffic, you know, navigating the Google, all those things. 10 seconds of me being absolutely pissed. And then the next 10 seconds was, and I recognize you did everything.
I took us his whole lineage. And
I took the kids to camp. I did the drop offs, I did the lunches, I did all the things. Does that make sense?
You guys are so grown up.
No, that was a good moment. Okay, so reflecting, it takes a ton of work. It's very hard to do. And like, man, you gotta really be invested in whomever you're having the interaction with in order to make it turn out well. So, understanding personalization. So if I'm having a personalization of like, let's say rejection, I might take that statement that my husband made, the first statement, and be like, he's completely rejecting me. I feel so abandoned right now. I feel so alone. All the things. I'm going back into my history. I, in that moment, am 11 years old. I'm going back to 11, right? For about 10 seconds. Because I've done work and whatever, you know, it doesn't take long to come back from that journey. But some people stay back there. Okay? I mean, thoughts about this?
Really hard to to not stay back there? Like even as you consciously recognize it.
I have another, one of my friends from college says to me when I had a baby, says, I really like you a lot better now that you're a mom. Wow. I've known this person since I was 19. And, 20 years. I like you a lot better now that you're a mom. What am I supposed to do with that? Immediately, I went back to being an 11-year-old who was bullied by girls all her fucking life and rejected. I went back to 11, 100% in that moment.
You packed her in her shit up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, what I did, again, which was a good moment, like a rare good moment for me, I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, you were like an anxious wreck in college, and now you're like so calm, and it seems like you got everything together. And I said, okay, I'm still a little bit activated, but like, let's keep talking.
Well, yeah, this anxious wreck as well.
Absolutely. So then I said, and then she said, but don't get me wrong. If I had half the history that you have with the people in your life and adolescence, I would have been 100 times worse than you were in college. And she said, I think it's incredibly impressive.
Well, she did that nice.
Okay, but that's what I mean. I could have immediately been like, well, we're never speaking again. This is terrible. You just completely rejected me. I hate this. Right? I'm like, disowned her as a friend. Right? I don't like that word, but you know what I mean. Instead, being curious, asking questions.
Okay. It sounds like she worded it wrong. Not how she meant it.
She was
probably meant to be like, I'm proud of you.
She was trying to say, you're so calm and like seemingly grounded as a parent, and like,
But when you compliment someone through the lens of trauma, it definitely is much different than just being like, I'm so proud of you for being so put together right now.
Absolutely.
100%. Like, you didn't
Was
have to bring it up.
that the best way of saying it? Absolutely not. 100%. But that's where my investment in my relationship with her was strong enough for me to be curious about it. Right? Where if it's someone I don't care about, I'm just gonna write them off. You know? Okay, so here we go. How am I doing on time? Are we okay?
Good. And there's an ice cream truck outside. Yeah. You are competing with Mr. Softy right now.
You wanna go get some ice cream?
Yeah. Unless I'm supposed to say,
Do you wanna take a break and then we come back?
yeah.
Sure.
Oh my god. Yeah, let's do it. I think the doctor wants ice cream.
Yeah, I know what I understand that you all do.
This is so funny.
The last time they brought Mr. Salty, he was here for 15 minutes and then just left.
So go get ice cream and come back at like 1:43.
That is not our agent here.
Nice. Okay, here I go. I got my bar.
Yeah.
If you went for the first time, I probably forget that. I think I'm super excited.
It would be I'm aware of that.
Okay, so my best friend Puma, she's psychiatrist, is the main line, and then I have my best friend Cordy, and prescribed. And I am the problem of the group, they always say. Because the way I was brought up, and also there are both how do I put this? Non-confrontational. They will put up. I feel like they eat so much shit on a daily basis. Where I'm not going to eat like a teaspoonful, but they'll eat like metric cups for our family. Each it's like. And I always tell you about put me in like and I took care of the whole time because I'm not being confrontational. I just don't want to get body anyway. The only thing that I really appreciate is Puma's mother is also a psychiatrist. Like she has a whole family of doctors. And when Puma's mom met me, she was like, "Oh, thank God, because you'll be protective over her," versus her always eating the shit all the time. But Puma's telling me what's not enough. confrontational. I'm like, I'm not, because I don't start it. To me, confrontational is like you go around and you're like, what are you looking at? Like, you know what I mean? I don't do that. But when I see someone being bullied or offended or like this agent who's like twice my age, nothing should know better, said something really rude to one of the vendors today, and yeah, I'm not letting that shit slide. Wait till I get her. I felt like that was so rude. You shouldn't bully people. So like, I'm gonna say something to her because it's not her first time, and I'm like, don't do that.
It's a pattern, really, to your point.
Yeah, it's a pattern. And I'm like, the problem is no one says anything to her. And I'm like, that's why she continues. Like, you be doing her. Somebody's the service. Yeah. Like I got disciplined as a child, so like I know how to act in certain situations where some people you could tell they never had the fear of their parents because they don't know what consequences. No, I deal with like I'm a coach here, right? So I have like 100 different agents and they all have different personality. I know what happens to them growing up by how they talk to me instantly. I'm not in your field by any means. Which I don't outwardly diagnose them, but in my head I'm like, oh, you never got your ass beat growing up, okay. Or you got your ass beat too much growing up. That's why you're scared to ask questions. You know, like I can see like things that have happened to them or how they do it. And I'm like, wow, that is so crazy. But yeah, Numa and Courtney called me control the neighborhood. And I'm like, oh, it's like protecting you guys. I'm not. It scares them, but I'm like, not out of laws and problem. You just deal with too much. I was in Numa's car with her one time here in the city, and somebody flipped her. And they stopped and like, they were not being mean. They were like, I'm sorry, I'll exchange information. But she's so timid. She was like, no, it's okay. I'm like, but you don't say go for it. And I'm fucked up. I was like, give me your information. She's like, I'm like, no, you're not paying because they willingly pulled over to help. That's not the issues. I'm like, no.
I have a friend that if she gets a wrong drink or something at the restaurant, she'll still drink. She'll say, and I'm like, oh, it's your pay. She's like, don't you dare tell them. She's
I
like,
know. And I'm like, no, I'm paying for this.
that's Will expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, don't you dare say a word.
Yes, that's how we were raised.
So you do
It's like,
couples,
like,
family stuff too. Do you find that relationships, it's just a general question now, with most, I would say men under 50, let's just say, are we more, and I hate using this word, but docile compared to like our father's generation? Or do you find that like baby boomers are more, like the male is much more gender or like?
Yeah, I think it depends. I do experience men under 50 being more active. You know?
Is that like just a shift from
Yeah.
like?
Or, I mean, it could be a lot. Yeah, and then mindset being.
Interesting.
I just like more open-mindedness, even if they're still like pretty masculine. Just a little, feel like men back in the day were afraid to say anything or be anything but it. You know, so that's probably good.
I don't prefer to tell that, but I was raised in a house full of.
Yeah.
It's definitely cultural. We had that slide about like, I was like, oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, this is relative to
Oh, definitely.
What do you recommend if, you're in a relationship and you're reflective, but the partner is not?
So what happens usually is that we are attracted to and attract people at the same level of what's called differentiation, which means our ability to be reactive or responsive in certain moments. So generally, you're going to be attracted to somebody who is either the opposite or the same.
1000%.
Right? And the theory that I'm talking about, I don't need to be a professor for sorry, but like that theory particularly says that it's better to be like generally on relatively the same level, right? In that way. If that doesn't happen, the problem is everything I'm saying really requires for sure to be on board with what's happening and to be willing to engage in that way. That's the problem. So that's where most of the time in relationship dissolves or shifts in some way. So, invest.
I'm very emotional about this last one. Whew. I'm good until like 2:35. I don't know how you all. So I get up, I don't need to be rude. I'm already getting blown up, it's not really close to anything for herself. So I have like a million unread texts, and I go, not right. This is really great. I guess I can still last you 2 hours.
Talk about money in relationships, like how money in relationships, like that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because that's a big thing for us in terms of being a realtor 1099, we're like, you know, the relationship to money is a big driving force.
And the same thing in private practice.
There was this little circle on one of your slides, I noticed I forget what the term was, but it was saying not to use such definitive words like always and every. And I meant to say something at the moment, but I don't want to interrupt you, and that stuck out to me because it's something that, when I coach new agents, I'm like, don't use those terms because that makes you always overpromise them and deliver, because you just say, oh, we always do this, or this always happens, or every time this happens, I'm like, don't say that, say, you know, this is common, or at times, or, you know, so when I saw that below, I was like, oh, I can separate this here, because
That's another form of process.
yeah, but you put such a high expectation, you say always, every, you know, it's so definitive.
Well, it also creates distance too.
Yeah.
You always do this.
Oh,
You never do this.
I try to stop using that. People accuse me of that. It's not really ever true.
Yeah.
So I don't always do something, or I don't, if they say you never listen to me, it's like, well, but I do.
If you have ever heard of CBT, this idea of like required questioning, really, like, you always do it that way, and like kind of pushing back on that statement, same thing.
And I think sometimes when people say, you never listen to me, they really want to say, you never agree with me.
What they're actually saying, take that in the therapy speak.
Yeah.
It's a need. I need you to listen.
Yeah.
Rather than you never listen. Right? I need you to listen creates more intimacy.
Yeah.
You never listen creates this. But we navigate relationships based on this a lot.
And when we go through like classes on discrimination and things like that, something that they trained us, if you hear somebody say, oh, women always do this, or women are always that, or you know, certain person is always this way, it's you've met every single one of those people in the world that is of this category. Like, wow, that's amazing. So
All of them.
we've met, and
I've had many clients, not to get, anyway, say something like, I really just cannot stand white people. Totally fair, like 100%, absolutely, and I'm a white person. So what does that mean for us? That makes sense?
Yeah.
Like, what do I do in this moment? So putting that in the room, totally valid, like based on this person's experience, 100%. And like, what does that mean for our relationship? And she's like, no, you're fine. You're fine. Like, okay, what makes me fine? Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. What about testing? Because again, not to harp on the relationship stuff, but like, it's really hard for me to kind of like pick up like like what you said, like you always, it really is wanting to be texting kills me.
Texting, there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes with texting. I think sends a lot of messages that are intended for.
And in our business, we do it.
Create distance.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think text messages wrong all the time, because I can be very literal, and it is
That's hard.
It is.
Super hard.
Because to me, it's black and white and it's written, so in my mind, I'm like, no, you thought about what you said.
Exactly.
You wrote it. So, but people text so fast, it's like they're talking now, and I'm not buying it. I'm like, now you're texting, said,
It's interesting dichotomy among adolescents of now people are communicating perhaps in a deeper way and a less deep at the same time. Meaning, they might feel more comfortable sharing something through text, right? Because it's, you know, there's, less vulnerable exceptions. So they might be sharing more with each other, and you're not face to face, right? So it's like this weird kind of experience going.
Yeah.
I do a lot of like parent-child work, like teenage child and parent.
Oh, yeah.
And like, what do you do there? Yeah. I'm gonna keep going, if you don't mind. Okay, so just quickly, kind of obvious, but, we all have defense mechanisms, we all, right? They have gotten us this far, they're very important. We don't wanna get rid of them, except it's important to understand the function they serve. Okay, so sometimes defense mechanisms that you develop in childhood, are you good? Okay. Sometimes defense mechanisms that you have in childhood were super helpful back then, but then in adulthood they're not. That makes sense?
And throwing lunches,
Okay.
personal, I think,
Yeah. So, right, so what would be an example?
throwing lunches, growing up in a house with 6 boys, and like,
Yeah, to defend yourself. Yeah.
well, you just get tired too, like the threshold for people.
Yeah.
And so as I was like coming out of, being an adolescent and a young adult, like swinging a fist because someone says something crazy, you already maxed out, you can go to jail for that. Versus when I was little, it was just getting me through the day. But
So, you gotta understand the defense mechanisms of other people. Again, thinking systemically, and to understand where they're coming from, and then how it's impacting the relationship, as well as your own. So these are just some examples. I'm gonna go into these. But I would have, so intellectualization is probably a big one that you said. Rationalization might be one too. So being denied for a loan and saying, oh, it's a good thing if it was too big, or I didn't see myself living there. Right, like rationalization, that type of thing. So noticing that that's mechanisms coming out in your clients. Okay, these are the most common ones, or I shouldn't say that. These are some that are common. Being happy all the time, that's mechanism. Do we know those people? Living always happy, they can't stand. Right? Why would that be? Why would that be?
It's not human.
Right. It's impossible to be happy all the time. Right? That person's not being real. Just understand that. Think about the energy behind your defense. Is it something that is taking your power away or giving you more power? To be the one.
What if it's neutral? You want there to be a reaction.
Okay. So
You know what I mean? Like you open up to someone. Person totally up.
the other person.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to get a rise out of somebody, they have a problem.
True.
Right? There's always a power dynamic when you're looking at that. Okay. Do you want me to stop this meeting? I don't mean that was wrong, but I'm just aware that there are not very many people feedback. If this is okay. I mean, I keep going until I have a meeting too, but that's just me. That's fine. Okay, I'll keep going until. Okay, so think about the circumstances under which defense might occur, right? Did you get a terrible night's sleep? It was broken, right? Or not eating, to Jen's point, right? Or what's going on? There's probably 1,000 different reasons why something's happening. Noticing about that yourself and another person. So what Jen did in the moment with that client was she searched for empathy. She's like, this guy doesn't usually show up this way. I'm curious about it. Right? If I step out of myself, I know it's not about me. So what's going on? It turns out he's hungry. Okay. Practicing empathy can be very hard.
Yes.
Think about somebody that you really despise. Like really, really don't like. Okay? Totally valid, most likely, right? If you can find compassion or empathy in that person, if it's worth it to you in the relationship, that can go a long way. Okay. Like, damn, I just want to
Yeah. Revenge.
So Okay, so we grow up with certain portrayals of who we're allowed to be, who we're allowed to become, and what that looks like. Okay, those are where core beliefs come from. Can't necessarily control core beliefs. We can control how we respond to them. Okay, so thinking about the iceberg analogy, what's allowed? Like, what were the allowed emotions? Oftentimes is what you show above the surface. Were you allowed to cry? Were you allowed to show anger? Were you allowed to show vulnerability? Or is that defense covering something? Usually anger is defense. Think about the last time you were angry. What was the feelings underneath the anger?
Fair.
Hurt. Despair, hurt. Yeah.
Disappointment.
Disappointment. Yeah. So anger is essentially the best. Okay, so the next time someone's angry in front of you, really want to make them more angry, ask them, hey, what's this about? It's not about anger. In this moment. My husband did that to me the other day, and I was yeah, so pissed. Anyway, but yeah, like that, we'll get that. That good with going. Okay. You can't do any of this without trust. None of this. No. Without trust. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the problem. That's not the problem. Sometimes we don't want to trust because that takes us out of our own state. Or, trusting someone would mean, losing a part of yourself or compromising or, whatever. Fill in the blank. Trust is huge here. The clients that you work with are trusting that you got their back, that you can hold them in one of the most probably crucial times in their life, buying a house or whatever you're doing. Does that make sense? So they gotta trust you and you have to trust them. And that's a really difficult process.
Especially because you don't know each other at all. Absolutely, the strangers. But I mean, you were lucky because you had a friend, right? But 9 times out of 10, it's a complete stranger.
Yeah. But we also have to trust each other. That if I'm going to be pissed at Jen, that the relationship's not going to end.
Right.
And vice versa. Does that make sense? Right? It never happened, luckily. But if it did, the relationship hopefully would not end. Right. Because talk about this. Or triangulate someone else. Exactly. Yeah.
What did your husband, what did your husband think after the fact?
Oh, it was great. It was a wonderful piece. Nothing bad, absolutely. Except
Do you think it?
stupid loan officer.
I love her.
Yeah.
No, but do you think it was because, I mean, at least as a guy, we have small circles, and like at least I consider my small circle to be irreplaceable, and fear of losing someone out of my small circle.
What he honestly thought was this. What he thought was he was going to get angry for the two of us. That we were going to have like this girl in the corner and be like, this is so great, whatever, right? That's what he thought. So that we feel like it's their deal. What actually happened is that my fault. Because Jen and my husband are like, they're the same. Like, does that make sense? So like that's.
So you did marry your best friend.
Yeah, but really, I actually met my husband before Jen.
Oh wow.
Good show. Yeah, anyway. Right? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, around the
Yeah,
time.
okay.
That's true.
So, I don't want to spend much time on this because we were talking about this a lot, except for the biz quote.
The third one?
No.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so the next time someone doesn't like a boundary that you set, it's because they have benefited from you not having boundaries.
Hate that. Oh, that's so frustrating.
Okay. So that's even more reason to file the boundary. That makes sense. If that's not justification to take the boundary away. Yeah, you're doing the right thing by having that done. Okay? So I just want to emphasize that point. Okay? I think that we're good. The last thing I want to highlight was this idea of loss. Okay? The loss, how do I stop this? Okay, let me stop at this slide because I think anyway. This idea of loss. Okay, so every time there's a loss, maybe you lost a deal. Maybe you had to give up your dream house. Maybe you didn't get the offer that you wanted. Like, there's a loss, right? Navigating that is hard in and of itself. Then you add change to that. So all of a sudden they have to change their expectations, or they have to change like their image of their kids growing up a certain way, or in a certain school district, or whatever that might look like, right? That very nature of going through that process allows for growth, or allows for resilience. So anytime you have a loss, whatever type you're talking about, you have growth also. Think about that. Okay? So that will allow someone to go from being completely just overwhelmed and devastated by a loss to actually moving through it. That make sense? I'm not saying that you can't spend time with more than, have that experience. Very important to do that. But it allows someone to move through it in a way that works. That makes sense? Okay. I will leave 4 minutes for questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any?
I had a question about money.
Oh, yes. You said that. Yes.
So, we're particularly motivated by that in our field. I wanted to know, like, what kind of impact that has, and how do you recommend navigating the roller coaster ride?
Do you mean
Great years.
Do you mean like what you charge, or do you mean interest rates, or
Just the emotional, the attachment to monetary happiness, like money equals better life.
You mean you don't have like guaranteed paychecks on every week?
I get the sense that like at least, yes, like I close $1 million, you know what, that's great, but I need close to it. And then there's this constant push for more and more and more, regardless of what comes, like the debits, like you're always.
You guys do like 2
It's like,
thing. Okay. I don't have a concrete answer except to just, you have to really think about the relationships involved in inviting, right? And if you want to push back on an amount, or like if you're feeling inadequate based on what you've earned or something like that, generally that comes from family of origin.
Yeah.
And so before I had an Aaron with him, and at the time of my life where he was conceived, I was living in North Jersey, working in Fidon. I was literally living like the girls from Sex and the City. I had a little group of girls. We were just like, we took New York City. We took everything we could possibly get out of New York City, and we squeezed that city like this. We're getting out of. We're also making good money, like well in 6 figures at 22, 23, 24. That's nuts, right? And living up there, it was crazy. I couldn't get enough. I worked. The only time I didn't work is when I was at happy hour with the girls. And I don't think I slept very much, which you don't need to in your early 20s somehow. You just live life like that, right? Or all things, traveling, whatever. If you could have talked about this when I was 20 years old, I would have been like super ambitious. Like, yeah, fuck that. Just get enough, right? And then I got pregnant. Don't let me lie to you. I still work hard and make good money. I'm a single mom, but I will never choose doing anything in real estate over air. So my whole perspective on that is different, and my goals, I've reached them. I've reached more goals, most goals that other people, never can even imagine, right? And if you're sitting here and you're top producer, most of us make more money in like 2 weeks or a month than some people do all year, right? So slowing down. Because of getting pregnant, which obviously can't really get pregnant, but you might meet a woman, you might have a child come into your life, you might have something happen to your parents and realize how they're not gonna be here forever, and you change your priorities in life where money isn't number one. But it definitely was for me at one point. You know what I mean? And I felt like very accomplished, but it still wasn't enough. Like for me personally, I was like, whatever. And everybody in my whole family was like, oh my god, this is really good. But it changed drastically. So now I just want to make a decent enough living to live my life and enjoy it instead of like surviving it, instead of working.
You wanna think about how to integrate your own story with money or messaging. Meaning, it's your identity. Let's agree that you lose all of your money and remain the same person.
Steve,
That makes sense?
yeah,
We touched on that at the very beginning, we guys describe ourselves
Yeah.
without being entitled
Yeah.
or anything like that.
People, and really what that comes down to on like a child developmental level is intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. So if you're intrinsically motivated, you're gonna be motivated by the pride you feel of yourself, or like how good it makes you feel as a human being, rather than the accolades you get or how much money you get. Things like that. That makes sense?
yeah,
So a way to like make sure that happens for a child is to when they learn to like be in the body, give them the deal.
Aaron does skills, but it's
Skills is different.
Yeah.
It's the same concept, but
Yes.
not related to money. Does that make sense?
yeah,
So
yeah.
all of a sudden, like things that they developmentally will learn how to do, like tie your shoes and you get $100. That is how someone gets immediately an identity by money. So my husband and I grew up very differently in that way, and we are navigating that with our kids, and it's very tricky.
Yeah.
Very tricky.
I can see that, I see that in
Yeah.
relationships. Who pays what, like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, very tricky. Money, just make sure money is not a third person, or however many people are in your relationship. Make sure it's not one of those people
Don't treat it as a.
as a person. Don't give it power. The problem is that we need money, right? So to some degree, it has to have power, right? And so you navigate it. So
Thank you.
I'm in a book.
Yeah.
I do have business cards if you know someone or would benefit in some way. I'm happy to buy. I don't have very many, but.
Well, it's very simple. Thank you. Thank you.